Oh, it's about to get good. Daniel Moore has opened the door. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. Welcome back to the Round Table, part of CRN Podcast. Wesley Outland, Brandon White, Mike Guerin, Bruce Barrett, and Daniel Moore. And Daniel, before we went to our commercial break, you said you think there's a lot more than what's going on with our world than just this pandemic, this coronavirus. You have the floor, my friend. And then everybody else will go up the table and say how they feel about this stuff, and then I will as well. Bring it. Daniel, go ahead. The bell is rung. It's your turn.
So, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't think I don't think we're being given the full truth here. Like there's videos on YouTube, of citizen reporters going to different hospitals in New York, Queens, New York, this part of New York,
Yeah.
So, but when they show video of these supposedly overcrowded waiting rooms, there's one person in there. And then on top of that, some of a particular mainstream media, if not more, have already been caught sending us or showing us parts of videos from Italy and saying that it's from New York.
Yes.
So
yes.
I mean, I guess you could say I have trust issues.
Okay.
But I mean, like I said, I just don't think we're being given real information all the time. I mean, obviously there is a virus that is here and it is, killing people or making people sick, so I mean, but I just don't think we're being given the full story.
Bruce Barrett.
Kind of, they control the virus by controlling the information type of thing.
Yes, definitely. So the media, the mainstream media are definitely not adding any help or insight to this. That's Daniel's thoughts. Bruce Barrett, go ahead, bud.
Well, they announced in Durham and in Raleigh here that they had 12 new cases just today in the area. And on Daniel's thoughts, makes you want to scratch your head a little bit. Our president has talked a lot. We've heard this nation's fake news and everything. I think there's a problem here. But are we getting, like he said, false videos, and they're saying it's in New York when it's actually somewhere else, another country, Italy, Spain, England, wherever? How do you know this when this is brought to the forefront of the American people? Who do you trust? So I think
not the mainstream media.
About, yeah, I agree with that. But it's just it's very concerning to me.
Mike Guerin.
I believe exactly the way Daniel thinks, and I want to read you a document. It comes from the National Vital Statistics
Statistics.
System.
It's a hard word to pronounce.
The National Vital Statistics.
Yes. And this is issued out to the healthcare systems. They use these things called ICD-9 codes. The way each diagnosis has a specific code. It's a billing thing, I guess. I don't know. But a friend of mine who's an attorney here in East Tennessee does some tremendous amount of research. And he put this on his page and put the link where he got it from the CDC page.
Right.
It says, will COVID-19 be the underlying cause? the underlying cause of death upon what and where conditions are reported on the death certificate. However, the rules for coding and selecting the underlying cause of death are expected to result in COVID-19 being the underlying cause more often than not. And it goes on to say, should COVID-19 be reported on the death certificate only with a confirmed test? And it said COVID-19 should be reported on the death certificate for all, we'll say dead folks. I don't know what that word
Deceased?
Deceased.
Deceased. Yeah, deceased. Yeah.
Where the disease caused or is assumed to have caused or contributed to death. Certifiers should include as much detail as possible based on their knowledge of the case, medical records, laboratory tests, etc. If the deceased had other chronic conditions such as COPD, asthma, that may have also contributed to these conditions, can be reported in part to see attached guidance for COVID-19 deaths. But basically it's saying during this time, whatever you die from in the hospital, they're going to
label it as COVID-19. And we've already seen reports in the mainstream media where people have said that they've had countless deaths, and they've said that no ifs, ands, or buts, it's because of coronavirus, and it could be because of something totally different.
Yeah, and, being in the healthcare industry as long as I was, when you have an unexplained death, if you're young, old, either or, you don't have any known medical issues, and all of a sudden you turn up dead, they do an autopsy. It takes weeks and weeks to get the results. How do they know instantly these people are dying for COVID-19?
Right. Brandon White, your thoughts on it?
I'm glad you brought that up, Mike.
Well, I've got a lot to say, so I'll try to tackle each of these points here, and I'll start with the media side of it. I cover news media now, so I get a chance to go around and talk to people in Henderson about how they're reacting to it. And what I'm seeing is a lot of people who don't know what's next, are scared about infecting other people, but at the same time, there's a lot of optimism there. They're doing what they can and however way they can do it to try and stay afloat through these difficult times. They understand that this virus is very contagious. The world has never seen anything like it before, and it is killing people at a very quick rate. I don't know what's next, and I can't really speak for these videos that Daniel, Mike, and Bruce, and maybe even you've seen too, Wesley.
Yeah.
I can't speak for that because I haven't seen those videos. But what I do know is that through the chaos, there are people just doing what they can to try to survive because this thing is contagious. It's very dangerous. We have never seen anything like this before. And I don't necessarily trust the mainstream media, but the people I do trust are the CDC, the World Health Organization, Governor Cooper, and President Trump whenever he comes on board and tries to address the nation about what's going on. People need to understand that this is a very dangerous situation. But the only way that we can beat this is if everyone listens to the CDC, listens to the World Health Organization, listens to Dr. Fauci, the Surgeon General, whoever comes up there about what's going on with the world, and listen to the governors. Those are the most well-trusted sources you people can listen to right now. They are professional. They have immediate access to what's actually going on, and they're always posting new updates at a regular basis. Like, you're not left in the dark for 2 or 3 days. There's a process here, and it is going to be a very lengthy process. I don't think there's any ulterior motive to what's going on right now. There's a pandemic afoot, and people are dying from it. And we can go on and on about what caused the pandemic and whatnot, but it is here. People have died from it. Unfortunately, more cases are going to pop up, but at the end of the day, we just need to listen to what CDC, WHO, whoever your governor is, President Trump, Dr. Fauci, just listen to them, social distance, wash your hands, keep good hygiene, and at the end of the day, this will blow over sooner rather than later. And I'll touch on another point we talked earlier about how we should open everything up right now. The states have that authority, and they're not going to do that right now. If we start opening everything back up right now, this thing's going to hang around till September, October, maybe even November, right. And the curve won't flatten until then. So we can't open things up right now. We need to wait and see where all of these states flatten the curve, the cases go down, and then we can start opening things back up. This is a matter of caution. I know we all want things to go back to the way they were, and there's a lot of things we don't know about this pandemic right now. We just need to listen to the CDC, the WHO, everyone else I mentioned earlier, not necessarily mainstream media, because unfortunately it has its flaws these days, but listen to the people who know what they are talking about. And that's all I'll say about the subject.
Well, gentlemen.
No, hold on. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Daniel.
So my thing is, though, if we're going to listen to these people, mainly, I guess who I'm referring to is, I can't remember who Mike said what you brought up a few minutes ago, Mike, but if they're basically saying that we're to assume that COVID killed them, even though it may have been COPD or something else, and it takes 2 weeks, like Mike said, to get this autopsy. I don't know. It's not all making sense.
Well, I can't speak about how the whole testing process unfolds. Maybe these people get tested when they're in the hospital. I don't know. I can't speak to that.
Gentlemen.
What I do know is that you've heard in the news about people who have diabetes, have like an autoimmune disease, are more susceptible to getting the virus and dying from it. Mm-hmm. You can die from both of those things. COVID-19 is something that can unfortunately speed that process up if you do have cancer or some other disease. So both those things can kill you, and maybe the cancer is what ultimately ends up killing you, but COVID-19, because your immune system's already weakened from the disease, chemotherapy, whatsoever, just speeds everything up. It's a cost to it. That's why you see in some of these news reports about the celebrities that have died from it, complications due to COVID-19. COVID-19 was not the only thing that killed them. There were other things that were, like whatever disease they had or cancer. That's how it works.
All right, guys. Well, this is my take on it. And while I feel that all of y'all make valid points.
Well, thank you, Wesley.
I still believe that there's more to this than just a virus. And I will say this. Yes. There's a political agenda behind what is going on here. And if y'all were not brave enough to say it, then I guess me being the leader of the room will say it. There is a political agenda.
Oh, I'll say it. I just didn't want to.
No, I wanted you to. I want people. I want you to. I wanted you guys. I wanted y'all to open up and say how you feel, because I'll put it to you like this: conspiracy theories, bullshit, truth, somewhere in the middle, whatever you want to call it. I'm a statistic guy. I'm a stat guy. And that's just what I do with my career as a broadcaster. When I prepare for a basketball game, or I prepare for a football game, or a racing broadcast, I prepare weeks in advance. I study the internet. I study social media. I study stats. I study statistics. I try to make sure that before I arrive at the arena or the racetrack or the stadium, a majority of my prep work is done, because I cram and prepare just like anybody does for a test. I have done extensive research in the last month about what it is that we're dealing with and things from the past. My mother used to tell me years ago about all of these crazy things that people were doing in the world of politics, Hollywood, big business, deep state, and more. And I used to shrug it off. I say, Mom, you're crazy. That shit just can't happen. Well, let me tell you something, gentlemen. It's happening, and it's happening now.